All right. With us tonight, we have Ann Hughes, Burt Caldwell, Chris Lounsbury, Cindy Farr, Commissioner Strohmeyer, Emily Hernan, Greg Henson, Heather Powers, Commissioner Slotnick, Commissioner Vero, Karen Hughes, Kevin Nolan, Lee Bridges, MCAT, Violet, and who do we have on the phone?
This is Tom Tucker, West
Hi,
Valley.
Tom. Did I miss anybody? Okay.
Great. Thanks a lot. Well, we'll call this to order. I just wanted to welcome everybody and say how much all of us appreciate that you all take some time out of your evenings to get with us once a month and let us know how things are in your specific section of Missoula County. And it's an opportunity for us to share some of our staff with you and answer questions and have some dialogue. So looking forward to another evening like that. We've got Cindy Farr with us. Before we dive into that health department update, we'll do something more optimistic. And it's hear from our comrade, compatriot Dave Strohmeyer, talk a little bit on the rail update.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. And for folks who might not be all that in tune with what Missoula County's passenger rail initiative might be, just a quick update. Over the past year, we've been in the process of working with other counties across the state of Montana to do something that has not been done before, and that is to establish the first ever passenger rail authority in the state of Montana. As many of you know, we've been without passenger rail service for 41 years, lost it in southern Montana in 1979, and over the past 4 decades have been trying to get it back with fits and starts. And the one thing that we've lacked is an organized governance structure to move an initiative like this forward. And that is where we are today. Over the past year, we've been working with other counties to adopt a joint resolution to establish what we are calling the Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority. Today, we added the 12th county to that effort. I was going to try to share a map with you, but as luck would have it, my team's functionality is a little bit squirrely tonight, so I will not be able to do so. We'll do that at a different date. But Powell County came on board, county number 12. There you go. There's the state of Montana right there.
Can you rattle them off? Juan can.
Let me try. So we've got Sanders County, Missoula County, Mineral County, Mineral County, Powell County. No, we do not have Mineral County. Excuse me. So let me start over again. Sanders, Missoula, Granite, Powell,
Butte Silver Bow.
What's that?
Butte Silver Bow, or we're not there yet?
We're not quite there yet.
Okay.
We do have Butte Silver Bow, Broadwater, Gallatin County, Park County. Who am I forgetting here? Dawson, over in the far east, we've got Dawson. We've got Webo. We've got Prairie County. Who am I forgetting there, Juanita?
Is there a Daniels County?
There is a Daniels County in Montana. They are not participating.
They're not on the list. Okay.
I can't hear what you're saying, Juanita.
Stillwater or Carbon?
Nope, we don't have them.
Okay,
so,
Park.
We do have Park County, yes.
Okay, so from Park out to Prairie.
Yep.
Yep.
So anyway, we've got 12 counties, whether I mention them all or not, and so we're super enthusiastic about that. Just within the last hour, I got word that Bighorn County may still come on board. The clock is ticking. We've got to get counties to execute this resolution before the end of the calendar year, so they might just have to join up later, but we'll see if we can squeak them in under the wire. Once the rail authority is established, each county gets to appoint one member to the initial board of directors of the rail authority, and that will happen in the next number of weeks. Either in December or January, we'll convene the first board of directors meeting of the rail authority. I will be serving as Missoula County's representative on the initial board. And what this board will do is really be that conduit or interface between the citizens of the state of Montana who are wanting restored passenger rail service through the southern part of the state, and Amtrak, the host railroads, Montana Rail Link, BNSF, Union Pacific, and our federal and state elected officials. So this is a first step of a multi-step and multi-year process, but we're off to the races, and it really has been an effort that has shown that bipartisan support for some issues is still possible. And indeed, this is not just an urban initiative. We have some of the most rural and sparsely populated counties in the state participating. So it's extremely encouraging and heartening to see that unfold before our eyes in the year 2020 in the midst of a global pandemic. So we can still dream big and accomplish big things. So stay tuned. We'll get back to you when the authority is actually established and fill you in on how Missoula County is participating in that effort. Commissioner Slotnick. You're
Thanks
speechless.
a lot, Dave. Oh. Never. Oh, it is super good news, and this is a huge step forward. And I imagine all goes well within the next year. We'll see some federal money and a study, and eventually you'll be able to get on the train in Missoula and go to Seattle or go to Yellowstone or go to Bismarck if you want. So I'm really looking forward to it. All right, on to some really bright news.
Bismarck?
Why would anybody? That's a good question, Bert. I should have said something else. Sydney, you go to Sydney. Cindy, you want to tell us how bad things really aren't? Maybe they're not that bad.
Sure. I am going to share my screen, and I do want to let you know that I'm having a little bit of wonkiness with Teams this evening as well. So can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So this is our data report. I send this out to schools every week, and so I figured I would just pull it up because it gives us a really good visual of what we've got going on in Missoula County. So we are still continuing to see a significant increase in cases. Our 7-day average positivity rate is now at 18.33%. And the reason that that makes a difference is that we're not really testing. It's not because we're testing more people. That really is just the level of disease that we're now seeing in our community. Our rolling, our transmission rate is staying pretty stable at just over 1. A lot of people have asked, because we're seeing such a dramatic increase in cases, why are we not seeing an increase in our in the daily 14-day R number? And the reason for that is that as these cases have moved into our older populations, they actually have way fewer close contacts. And this graph right here is just talking about how many people actually get the disease from someone who is positive. And so because we're seeing fewer and fewer close contacts as it's moving into older people, then that is what's keeping that transmission rate number much lower. Our route of transmission is still, well, here, I'll finish going through this, this little paragraph. Our route of transmission is that the exposure is continuing to be primarily contact with a confirmed case. We currently have 1,064 active cases. That number does continue to increase. 4% of our active cases are in the 0 to 9% age range, and 8% are in the 10 to 19-year-old age range. That's actually been really steady for several weeks. So we know that our kiddos are definitely not the main source of transmission for this disease. We are continuing to see the shift in disease to people that are over the ages of 40, and particularly in the much older age groups. We did have some long-term care outbreaks, and that seems to be stabilizing at this time. So, so hopefully we'll start to see that number come down. We've now had 37 deaths to date, and many of those have been in the last month. And we've got 34 COVID patients that are currently hospitalized in Missoula County. Our current 7-day average new case rate per 100,000 people is 69. Yesterday was 78, so it's sort of hovering in that 70s range. 78% of our ICU beds in Missoula County are occupied currently, and 86% of all hospital beds are occupied, and 15% of all beds are occupied with COVID patients. So, and now I will go through some of these little graphs because it's a nice little visual of everything so this is out of transmission for our current active cases. As you can see, 60% is contact to a confirmed case. This is our age breakdown, and so we were seeing this 28%, that's our 20 to 29-year-olds, and that used to comprise more than half of our cases, but as I've said, we're really seeing it move into these older age ranges here. So our incidence by age group, this is kind of shows you that when we're looking at incidence by age group, that is not the number of cases, it's actually the proportion of the population compared to the total population of that age group. And that's where you see in this 80 plus that they're creeping up there to this almost the same incidence as our 20 somethings. And this is just a little plot of our epi curve. The cases in this little shaded area may not actually be completely reported yet. This is our active COVID cases in Missoula County. You can see that that number has continued to increase, as well as our new daily case rate has really increased. And then this is our positivity rate. So these blue graphs are the number of tests that were performed. And then this orange line is our positivity rate. So that is all the data that I have to share. Obviously, we are very concerned that we are seeing such a big spike in our cases recently over the last couple of months, and we don't expect that that is going to just go away on its own. There have been additional restrictions put into place. Many of you may know this, but if not, Ellen Leahy, our health officer, did put some additional restrictions into place a few weeks ago. And tomorrow at the Board of Health meeting, they're going to be talking about adopting that as a Board of Health order as well. So if you're interested, that meeting is tomorrow at 12:15. It is a Microsoft Teams meeting, and is welcome to join to that meeting. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Hey, Cindy, I just want to start with one. Do you think the governor's orders will have much of an effect? And if so, how long from now would we see that effect?
Yes. Yeah, I think that it is going to help. I think the governor's orders are going to help some, because part of what we're seeing in Missoula is what we're seeing all across the state, where we're just seeing an explosion of cases. It's actually happening all across the country at this point. Basically, what the governor's order is almost exactly the same as our health officer order that got put into place here in Missoula a few weeks ago. Typically, we say that it takes 2 incubation periods of the virus in order to be able to tell if a new intervention is actually effective. So we would need 4 weeks in order to know if it's actually working.
And folks are getting sick again. This is just being transmitted all over, or is it, I mean, businesses and schools not so much, or is it really just people, like we've been saying, like it's house parties and friends and families gathering? What is it? Or
yeah. It is. Common things we're seeing are that it's people that someone tests positive, and the people who are around them that are around them all the time, friends, extended family, and coworkers, are the ones that are getting infected. And so it is house parties, it's close work settings that are really, close together. People being really comfortable with their extended family or their group of friends, and so they don't use those precautions of 6-foot social distancing and masking and everything that we've talked about. But it's truly, we're giving it to people that we know and love.
Looks like Kevin has his hand up.
Hey there, Cindy. Good to see you again this month. I watched that news conference yesterday with the governor, and it seemed like he was focused a lot on gathering places of restaurants, bars, casinos. I heard a reporter had a question about gyms and churches, and I was having audio issues at that time, so I didn't hear his answer. Is tomorrow's meeting, are we going to look into that for our county?
Yeah, so tomorrow's meeting is going to be discussing everything that you just talked about, including churches and gyms and sports and everything. Oh, sorry, I have a little person who wants to join the meeting.
That's what we go to work for, right? For those.
So Cindy, I think I saw Emily and then Bert questions.
Yeah, my question was, what was the difference between the meeting that's discussed tomorrow with the changes and making that a change versus what was already established? Or is there a difference?
Yeah, so there tended to be a short-term thing. Like, for example, we really use health officer orders in order to do, like in long-term care facilities, we put in a health officer order for a specific long-term care facility if they are experiencing an outbreak. And it's supposed to be for a limited time period with a first end date. These health officer orders for restrictions, because it's not something that's going to go away really quickly, then it really needs to move into the Board of Health realm, where those are longer, more extended orders. I believe that there's also a few things that are going to be different with our local orders than what is already put into place with the governor's orders that is going to be discussed.
Bert.
Hey, yeah, I've got two things. And the first one is that I know we got a lot of really crazy people that live in the state of Montana, not in Missoula, but around the state of Montana. And I was reading yesterday, I think, that in another state, nurses are having a problem with people with COVID in the hospital dying and refusing to believe it's COVID. Have you heard of any of that going on here?
I've heard limited, and it's mostly anecdotal reports, and it's primarily from people that, like, for example, one of the reports that I was given was that we had a patient that got tested through our testing facility, and then whenever patient services called to tell them that they had a positive result, then they basically blew up at our patient services representative, told them that COVID wasn't really a thing and that they were being lied to. So there are definitely still some people out there that they still believe that somehow this is all a global hoax and that it's not for real. And, you know, we do get a lot of that. I like to say it's the vocal minority of people who like to reach out and email or call or, you know, send us messages on Facebook or make comments on our posts that that definitely believe that this is not a real pandemic. They think people are being lied to, and I can assure you that that is not the case. And, you know, I had a Western Montana residency student that is a doctor that was doing his public health rotation with us. And his answer to that was that all they need to do is have to walk through the ICU at St. Pat's to understand that this is really, truly a real issue and not just we're all in some sort of large global hoax.
Is it possible to give people like that a tour of the hospital? Oh, no, then they would catch it, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
The second thing I had was, I was just wondering if it was symbolic as to where you're sitting that the virus has got you backed into a corner.
No, actually, I have been working from home because I have a potty training 3-year-old and 2 teenagers that are doing online school. So this happens to be like a corner of the house for my work area.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? We're wide open.
Josh, I had a question about the governor's assistance for small businesses, or maybe Chris or Cindy. Yeah. So how does that work? Or because we're kind of hearing from small restaurants, bars, what have you, and or small businesses in general, and how this will impact them, and then feeling frustrated that they're being called out as the boogeyman when they feel that it's more friends and families and loved ones not being safe around each other, and they're doing everything in their power to be safe and to provide a safe service, and they feel, put upon, and then aren't able to pay their employees too. And so how does the assistance work, and maybe how are we supposed to talk about this and message?
So
two things.
Cindy, yeah, sorry. I want to talk about your piece first, and I can talk about the governor's assistance plan, or?
Yeah, so I can tell you that before the governor made his announcement yesterday, we were actually working with some restaurants and bars and trying to get some good brainstorming around how we could help them stay open longer, or in different ways that would allow them to not have it impact their place of business. But now that the governor's order has gone in, it's actually, because we were going to say, okay, you can, bars and restaurants can stay open until 11:30 instead of 10, but it has to be under these parameters. So we are trying to work with our business communities when we are implementing these restrictions by having focus groups, or working with individuals that can represent the industry to tell us how they can do it safer, or change what they're doing, or make it fit within more restrictive parameters so that it doesn't affect their business. So that's what I have for my part, and I don't really know anything about the governor's financial stuff that he's putting out.
That's a Chris issue.
So, hi. So on the front, on the governor's, he's using $75 million of additional CARES money that they were able to put together, and they're running it through their business assistance grant program that they used earlier in the year. So any business who applied earlier in the year for any one of the 3 other funding opportunities related to the business assistance that the governor did should get an email from the governor's office encouraging them to apply for this. The other 2 rounds of funding should get an email offering the opportunity to apply for this 3rd round of funding. Unfortunately, they aren't taking new applicants, but if businesses are contacting community councils or community members, they should go to that governor's website to look for information about that, or they should get an email from those grant programs giving them the opportunities to apply again.
Yeah.
So Chris, you're saying if a business had applied in the past and was successful, they should be getting an email from the state on how to apply for another round?
That is correct. Yep.
Great. I know so many businesses were able to get some of that governor's money, so that's a good thing. So Cindy, do you feel like it's a true statement to say that structured spaces are safer than unstructured spaces?
Yeah, I would say that is a true statement. And that is one of the things that Ellen was weighing, and I know that the Board of Health is also going to be weighing out, is that, when we start looking at trying to reduce group sizes, it sometimes can cut into those structured spaces that we really want people to use. Like Parks and Rec has really great structured things. We've got some after school care type of programs that we don't want to impact by limiting the group sizes, because it's actually safer than some other alternatives. One of the reasons that we did say, okay, everybody has to go to half capacity, including retail, which is not in the governor's directives, is that, you know, we do know that as people and they've been able back to their regular shopping habits and they've gone back to their regular eating out habits. And with our spot checks to, you know, inspections at bars, what we have found previously is, you know, the later in the evening it goes, the more people are standing up at the bar and congregating and milling about in some of those places and not actually following the structured environment. And so that is part of what's going to be discussed tomorrow, is that there would have to be a plan submitted to the department for how they would structure that. But it's definitely spreading less in a structured environment and more in the unstructured environments like house parties and backyard barbecues and things like that.
Cindy, another question for you. I just, before our meeting tonight, I looked online at this Georgia Tech risk assessment map. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen the Georgia Tech. I keep a pretty close eye on the one that's come out from the Harvard Global Pandemic Group.
This, I don't know if it's a similar thing, but this one gives a percentage of risk that one person out of, and you can type in the group size, is positive within a certain county. So it was just interesting, but Missoula didn't look very good, but none of Montana did right now.
Yeah, Josh, would you mind emailing me a link to that? I haven't seen that one.
I'll do it. It's really interesting. It also adjusted for ascertainment bias, which I wasn't completely sure what it was, but I thought you would know.
I would have to actually look at what they're defining as ascertainment bias. So I can't answer that question right now, but I can email you back with the answer once I take a look at it.
Sure, thanks.
Looks like we have a couple hands up.
Oh, there we go. Emily and then Tom.
Yeah, quick statement on that Montana stabilization with the small businesses. It does have to be businesses before that it's applied for. You actually have to have that in a response by 12/1. So if businesses have received support before, they need to put in that response very quickly. I literally got that come across my page at about 5:07 this evening. So just as an FYI to anybody that knows businesses looking for support.
Emily, do you were loans or grants or both?
They were grants, but they do have stuff. There's stipulations within the grants. You have to prove how you're using it, what you're using it for, and those kind of things. And you have to comply with all the health benefits. You have to comply with all county, statewide mandates, and show that there's a number of stuff that is listed on it. So you just got to read through it. But yeah, it is businesses that were suffered. The first round went out in March. I think it's somewhere in March, another one in July, and so on. So they've had to have applied for one of those two rounds before to get this third offer. So, but there are some stipulations, and I know I've sent in what I've spent my money on for my business and what that included and what was there. So.
Okay, thanks. Tom.
So this is related to that. And up here in Sealy, we've got a lot of folks kind of on the edge. I mean, they're like gig workers, they're independents. I helped a few back a few months ago when PUA came out in early May, because these folks had no money for a couple of months, right? They didn't pay into like 940 tax. So they don't pay any unemployment because they're just like self-employed. They might be loggers, they might hang drywall or something. Well, the payment was good, but now some of them are getting done for like that, Uber driver in Billings, he owes $12,000. And, you know, you get that there was some documentation required, but I still think that people don't quite understand. Some of these people, I mean, their financial statements or their checkbook, I mean, that's all they have. So to supply some of the follow-on documentation, a bit onerous. Well, a couple of ones I'm helping, I've gone back and looked, and it's, yeah, you know, you need to show a 2019 tax return, assuming they had it. I mean, there are some people out in the woods that maybe never file tax return. But I'm wondering if there's a way, so let's suppose you're a, you know, a logger up in Condon and you got a few $1,000s back in May or June, and you've gone back to work now because, you know, the woods are pretty much back to normal. And the state says, well, you got to pay the money back. Well, to go through, and I was worked with someone, it's a little complicated because can you send us a, you know, your tax return, your Schedule C, which they may or may not know about, a way for someone like that, kind of on the edge, just to say, here's what I got, here's what I've been doing. Yeah, and I'm not sure if there's an easy answer, but that is something I'd like to raise because I think they're, you know, since the pandemic's gone on a bit longer than we assumed, a lot of these people are back working. I don't think it's fair to say, hey, you got to pay back the money you didn't make for those couple of months back then. And so I'd like to know where we direct them. Is there something other than what you get on the, you know, montana.com or .us/PUA or whatever it is? Not sure if this is a question for the commissioners.
I think this would be one I would ask Chris.
BCC, type in Roseman.
And honestly, I'm not sure, Josh. I would suggest they start with that website, and I mean, we can see if we can find, we can make contact with some other folks at the state to see if there's somebody who might be able to provide an answer, but I honestly do not know.
Okay, I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, some of these folks, hey, you know, that like technology is not their thing. So it's still, you need an ombudsman type that can take them and say, hey, this is what you got, this is what you need to do, and sort all that out. Okay, and we'll see what happens. But if there's a, I mean, let's suppose you got some logger out in the woods that, you know, the state's banging on him for $5,000 and hasn't done anything on the website. I mean, where would you go with that?
Century Tel? Is that it? Roseman 38 at Century Tel.
I know the state does have some folks, well, I shouldn't say no. I believe the state still has some folks who are working a call center for that. And like I said, we can reach out to the state and see if we can find out if that's still happening so that there'd be somebody they could call, but I'm
wondering if Missoula Economic Partnership might be a place to reach out to.
That's good. That's a good idea.
A good point, Dave. Yeah, that might be a good one as well.
I mean, they do have a website that's devoted to these sorts of things, but what you're describing, Tom, is for someone who does not have web access. What might be the way in which they get some answers? But I would reach out to the Missoula Economic Partnership with a phone call, and I think they could help.
Okay.
Okay.
Emily, did you find something there hidden in your phone?
Locally, so I had a reach out today from a lady by the name of Jennifer Stevens. That might be a good one for you to write down, Tom, for Missoula SBDC. So they were updating some stuff on looking at financial needs. Her number, she's at the University of Montana, but this is going further out. Her number is 406-243-4770.
Great, thanks.
You might be able to help.
Well, I
Wondering if folks could mute their phones if they're not on the line. It's bad background.
Instant improvement. All right, thank you, Cindy. I really appreciate you taking the time, and we look forward to talking to you again. And I'll send you that link to that risk map.
Yep,
So,
sounds good.
Kyla, would you introduce Violet?
Sure. We have a new administrative assistant, Violet Plummer. She is taking over Emmy's position and the duties that she was in charge of. So she'll be doing the public meetings and the agendas for all the other meetings. Violet, do you want to hop on and say a welcome?
Hi, everybody. My name is Violet, as Kyla said. Yep, I'm basically the new Emmy, and it's been great to see how these meetings sort of go, and I'm excited to hear what's going on in everybody's neck of the woods, and excited to get to meet you all virtually at least. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about public meetings, like Kyla said, and I will be available to answer those. But great to see everybody.
Thanks a lot. Thanks,
Violet.
Kyla and Violet.
And we should add that Emmy and Sarah Bell are still around. They're in other roles right now in our communication staff, but we've got a great team.
How about a little background, Violet? Where you're from? How long you been in Missoula? Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for asking. I was born and raised in Sandpoint, Idaho, so just a few hours away. And I moved to Missoula back in 2016 to go to the U. I studied public administration and minored in nonprofit administration and climate change studies, and have stayed in Missoula ever since graduating in 2018. I love this place. I love living here, and it's awesome getting to work for the county and for the commissioners. I feel even more connected to the community than I already did. So yeah, it's been great. I'm really happy to be here.
Thanks.
Good. I think we're glad to have you.
Yes.
One real quick thought is that you're from Sandpoint. Some very strong people from Missoula own and built a Matchwood brewery in Sandpoint. So
hey, no way!
Stop in and support them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't even know that the owners were from Missoula. That makes it even better, but it's a great spot, so.
Well, and if we're successful in our passenger rail efforts, you will be able to get on a train here in Missoula and travel to Sandpoint. So
Sandpoint. Yeah, good work.
Thanks.
Well, thanks a lot, Violet, and thanks, Kyla. And our next up here is we're just going to go through everybody and ask any question you like, or it'd also be great to hear what's going on in your community council. What are the issues you guys are wrestling with right now? Kyla, do you want to just read through the list? We'll just go person by person.
Sure, that sounds good.
Thank you.
Do you want me to do it just by community council?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, we'll just go alphabetical. We'll start with Bonner.
Okay. I'm not sure that we've got a whole lot going on right now in Bonner. We've got the repository of toxic waste that's in the middle of the Bonner Mill, waiting on quality, the DEQ to come back. And as we all know, waiting on the DEQ can take years, but that would free up 2.5 acres in the middle of the Bonner Mill for another building and some more businesses. We are being semi-inconvenienced with the road work on 200 near the Marshall Canyon Road, but that's not a big deal. And we're waiting on the Highway 200 project that's 3-phased coming through East Missoula. But as far as actually doing stuff, we've got one issue, and I think Kyla, you're getting me set up with a meeting to discuss that elsewhere. So we won't talk about that here.
Yes, that will be in an admin meeting soon to come. We're getting that worked out with scheduling.
Fantastic. Emily, you got anything?
Just the fire station too, and that's it.
I forgot the fire station. Shame on me. Thank you.
Emily, what's going on with the fire station?
They are breaking ground on it. So
Nice.
they hope to be, I'm talking. I forget, Bert, what's the timeline on that supposed to be done?
It's about
It's
9
pretty
months.
quick.
Yeah, it's about 9 months. And the trick there is when the Bonner Mill people, and that's Steve and Mike, I think you all know them, when they built the new building they've got right across the street from the Bonner School, they anticipated the fire station going into part of it, but apparently government facilities in private property or some sort of a thing. So the fire station or the fire department ended up getting together enough money to buy a piece of the property that was the wood chipping operation. And they've moved some fences and they've started breaking ground, like Emily said. And we'll have a new fire station there that would be 2 to 2.5 times the size of the one we've got, and it will be better located to serve the whole community in a faster response. So I apologize, I forgot that one. That's an important one. Thanks, Emily.
That's a good one. Thanks.
Nothing else from me.
Great. Lee, East Missoula, do you have anything?
Yes. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Sorry. I don't know if you guys called on me any earlier. I've been outside. We've got an FBI doing flash bombs at a place up the street, so I had to check that out. It's been a really busy month, as the commissioners know. I want to thank them so much for helping us out. We had an issue take place with rezoning behind Ole's that was requested and has been denied. So that is passed on. Now we are dealing with some vandalism that we have to take care of. I'll be talking to the county attorney tomorrow, I hope. And the big news is, Bert, I hope you're still on here. We have a pet clinic this Saturday, the 21st, for all of the local residents who have dogs, cats that need spayed, microchipped, wellness checked by a vet. Please give the Humane Society a call. Their phone number is 549-3934 to schedule an appointment. That's important that you get an appointment scheduled. I don't think they're taking walk-ins because of the COVID. So,
Lee, were you implying that Bert needed to be microchipped or spayed?
Well, I don't know. I thought he already was.
It might be what you call TMI, but I've been spayed, so that's not a problem.
Well, okay. That, so.
Microchipped, I don't know. I'm not sure if I got lost, if anybody would really want to find me. You know.
Well, Bert, did you get my message about that so that you could post it on your Facebook page?
Emily has got it posted on our Facebook page within 24 hours of when you asked me to have it done.
Okay, thank you so much. That's all I've got to report. It's been an exciting day. I'm exhausted.
Thank you for that update. And how about Kevin? Lolo?
Yeah, let me get unmuted on camera. We're pretty quiet in Lola. We appreciate the County Health Department having a testing site out at our community center. The line's always long every Thursday when they have that. So we appreciate that and appreciate the attention that way. Our biggest thing, we had the Jamie Jonkel from the Fish, Wildlife, and Parks had several bear-proof trash cans brought into our area to help us with some nuisance bears, trying to protect them and save them from having to be moved out or destroyed. So that's all we have. Looking forward to a quiet, relaxing holiday season. So.
Great. Seeley Lake.
Okay, so Seeley Lake, for most people know, the big thing up here is the sewer, which continues its long whatever. But the next thing on our sewer district is to, I believe the sewer board will vote in a week or so whether to put to go to GO, general obligation bonds, which in effect is a referendum, which would be next spring. So sewer continues to be a TBD, to be determined. Some of you might have participated in the Reimagining Rural America program. We did 3 of the sessions up here in Sealy, and those who stuck it out were eligible for grants. So we got a $2,000 grant, which we will use to light the businesses in Sealy in the holidays and probably permanently. So that was good. So up here, it's hunting season now, and obviously everything slows down in hunting season. I do have something for Josh, the commissioners, that is more specific to where I live, Double Arrow Ranch. I happen to be president of the Homeowners Association, but the county has come to us and said we have to rename a road because the same road exists somewhere else in the area. And I believe this is the emergency response people. And I thought, well, we've had a road named probably 1973 or 74. And I thought, you know, there are 3 or 4 people that actually live on that road. And the county said, well, you really have to change the name or we'll change it for you. And to be honest, I mean, having grown up in Missoula County, I've never heard of a road conflict before. But my last thing is, where does somebody take this if the folks on Grizzly Drive on the east side of 83 don't want to change the name of their road?
So, Tom, when you said the county's going to do this, who are you talking about?
I think it's the emergency. I think what happened is the folks on the other, I mean, the non-Double Arrow Grizzly, probably signed up for Smart 911, something like that. And they saw this name, Grizzly, and say, whoa, there's another Grizzly. And then they realized there are, I mean, it's not like there are not more than 1 main streets in town. And it was kind of odd because then we get this notification from the emergency response folks in the county saying, well, the other Grizzly predates yours. So you have to change the name. So what do you think? I mean, I'm not sure what you do with that, because what if you don't change it? I mean,
yeah, I don't know what to say. We can ask Adrian what she thinks about this. I think that's when you said, where do you go? That's where me and the 3 of us can ask Adrian about this.
That's when we go see.
I think that probably helped, because if you think about it, I mean, I would bet if you look at the nooks and crannies of Missoula County, there have to be more than 1 Cottonwood something or Elm something, or.
I wonder, Tom, if this could be solved with an east and west or something like that. It could either be, which might be less disruptive to the people. Do you think that would fly if there was East Grizzly and West Grizzly? Or would they take umbrage at such a change?
Well, you know, that's a good idea, Josh, because up here, most of us, we're not on the USPS database anyway. We have to go to the post office to get our mail. But if you have all, you know, financial companies, you know, Wells Fargo, First, all banks, they want a physical address. So sure. We've got 3 or 4 folks that have built houses on our Grizzly. And they said, well, like Tom, if I had to change this, it would be a real pain in the ass because I have to go back to all these people. East and West is a good idea. So who should I?
We'll bring that up with Adrian.
Great, that'd be good.
We went through this on my family's ranch, having to change names and name roads that we had never named before for emergency services, and it was oh my gosh, it was either Mike Snook or it was folks downstairs next to Dave Wall's office, and I'm forgetting their names, but they that department helped us.
Yeah.
Totally clear. We can check it, Tom.
That's a good point.
Good. Thanks.
Somebody's got a lot going on in the background.
So.
Hey, Tom, this is Ann Hughes. I'll shoot you an email and connect you with Adrian. I'll check in with her, okay? I'll follow up on this.
Thanks, Ann.
Great. Sounds good. Thanks.
Of course.
Okay, did we have anyone hop on from the Swan Valley? Ken was on earlier, but I think he left. Okay, we'll move on to West Valley.
Hi all, this is Greg Hansen. I don't have good enough internet out here to try to do video, so just audio. Kind of been out of the loop most of the year, so it's just nice to be back into the loop a little bit here. The only thing that I can think of is that we have a couple of cases of COVID in the school. Tom Tucker, are you still on? Well, anyways, I was going to see if Tom knew of anything else going on. He's generally a little more connected to some of the community than I am.
Am I connected?
There you are. Hi, Tom.
Well, I had a question for Commissioner Strohmeyer. So, as far as the schools go, I haven't heard any more feedback from anybody from the schools. So, Commissioner Strohmeyer, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, I had a couple of parties I was visiting with, and one of them asked me about why was there no announcement made about the money from the state of Montana, other than a year ago, July, from the gas tax money that the state gave Missoula City County. And haven't heard any more of it this last Christmas or this July or up till now. So did you guys get some more money, gas money from the state legislators?
Dave, this would be Barca, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so there's two different gas tax payments that local governments throughout the state of Montana, counties and municipalities get. One is a new funding stream when the legislature a couple sessions ago added to the gas tax, increased the gas tax, and there's a process by which we apply for that funding every year on an annual basis, and that's been going on for a couple of years. The other gas tax revenue stream's been going on quite some time, so it's an annual thing. I don't know that we typically issue a press release or anything of that nature, just because it's an annual payment that we get from the state of Montana to the tune of several $100,000. I don't have those numbers at my fingertips. We could certainly get them at an upcoming community council meeting like this, and have our public works director talk a little bit more in depth about the gas tax dollars that we receive.
One thing I'd want to toss out about the state gas tax is this is a method by which the state can use areas like Missoula County, where we have a lot of cars and a lot of people buying gas, extract a little bit of revenue, and then send that money to counties that don't have our level of traffic and gas, but still have gas consumption and still have a whole bunch of roads to fix. So we put a whole lot of money into the gas tax that the state gets, and we get a pretty small amount back. We're a giver far more than we are a receiver in terms of the state gas tax, whereas Central Montana and Eastern Montana counties that have big, extensive road networks, because they're so spread out, but have very few people, really rely on counties like us, Gallatin County, to help fund some of their road repairs through gas tax. And then the BARSA money Dave mentioned, it's really key. The key word there is apply. We have to apply for specific projects to get that BARSA money. And we can have Eric and Shane come on and tell you about the projects that have been funded with the BARSA money.
Yeah, it was a year ago, July, that Missoula County got a large sum of money, if I recall, around
it was in the $300,000, I think, which for our road budget, it sounds huge, but it doesn't really go very far.
I understand that.
We're
the same way with the county 2-cent tax. I mean, that just started, so I don't expect there's much revenue coming in from that.
You know, and it's been such a weird year. I looked this up just the other day because I was curious. We're bigger than Delaware.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of roads.
Yep. And there's a lot of Montana counties that have already paved their secondary roads. And Missoula County, there's a lot of roads that they haven't even touched yet. They're still putting that mag chloride down on them and fighting the potholes. So,
you know, we could do it, but it would just cost more money.
Well, and we just did it.
And all the other counties, all their secondary roads are paved, but Missoula counties, there's still a ton of them that have not had a bit of asphalt laid on them.
The ones in South Carolina.
Well, it will. It's probably going to be the case that there are many of those roads that will never get paved. We've probably got a couple 100 miles of gravel, unpaved surfaces. We just did a pavement assessment for the paved roads in Missoula County, and we've got a maintenance backlog on the existing paved roads that we are not able to keep up with given our current revenue stream for road maintenance. So it's a big test.
What I'm thinking, hearing you talk though, is next month, let's see if we can get Shane and Eric to come on to this meeting and talk about maintenance schedules and paving projects and where that's going. And you'll be able to ask the people who are intimately acquainted with details.
I think that'd be good because up here in north part of Missoula County, they did a great job when they did the Summit to Lake County resurfacing and reused that and did a lot of our secondary roads with recycled asphalt. It was good.
And 2 years ago, they paved Beaver Tail all the way over into the other county, and that was already paved, so they put new asphalt down. But you don't see anything else going on the western part of the county. But anyway, I'll pass that question along, and if I get a notification on an email, I'll have these people join in to listen to this.
Yeah, and we'll make sure that next month Eric and Shane are here to talk about what's going to get paved when and why we have paved what we have and haven't paved what we haven't.
Good enough.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks.
All right, I think that's all the community councils. Any additional questions out there? Bert?
Yeah, a couple of real quick ones. One is early on, Josh said something about thanking all of us for attending these meetings. As it turns out, several months ago, we very strongly requested these meetings. And so what I'd like to do is thank the commissioners for showing up every time.
Ditto.
Thanks.
And then the other one, at the risk of stirring the pot, the next time our legislature, our conservative legislature, rants and raves about socialism, let's take all of our gas taxes back and keep them out of eastern Montana.
They'd really like that.
Oh, well, you can tell them that's socialism, hot, big, heavy duty. That's all I've got. Thanks a lot. And seriously, I was serious about, we requested this a number of times and we got it, and we've started doing it on a monthly basis. And I think it's great. And I thank the commissioners for continuing it. Thanks.
I second that, Bert. Very good.
I do too.
Absolutely.
Great.
And I'll say it again. I'll say it again next month too.
Good deal.
The only other thing I have is just a reminder, next month we did move up the meeting a week just to accommodate the holidays. So it'll be Wednesday, December 16th, again, 6:30. And we'll definitely get the gas tax on the agenda for next month.
Yeah, great. And kind of, can you remember to invite Eric and Shane?
I'll certainly do that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Great. All right, everybody have a good night, and thanks a lot for jumping on.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Ciao.